your curiosity right.
Mad Bricks webcast,
Where the human spirit flies. Mad Bricks webcast, where the human spirit flies.
Hey, welcome to the Medbix webcast. This is Raman Annamraju. I'm the host. It is, there is so much buzz going on. AI. Sorry, Susan cannot join today, but Susan Davis, my co-host. But in any case, let us talk about the little bit of what's going on in Silicon Valley, and then we can talk about a little bit more about the upcoming guest. The artificial intelligence is a big buzzword right now. So they say they're going to replace humans. They're going to replace jobs. There's a lot of talk going on. What is one thing they forget? Even healthcare or any other place, they forget all these tools even the AI, as intelligent as may be like us or more intelligent than us, is still for humans, is not for anybody else that serve the humanity. That's the bottom line. If you design any system, I don't think they can control the system AI, but human principles are non-negotiating principles we have to invoke. So, I was trying to do a framework for healthcare. Yesterday, I was talking about a little bit about the framework for the non-negotiating principles for the healthcare capacity, how the clinical workforce should be protected, why they're so important. I was talking with them yesterday about my series of the podcast I'm doing. So it's a human connection is such a powerful thing. It is a rather we build systems around it rather than we replace that system. We replace humans. It doesn't make any sense. So, but the system has to be protected. You have to understand how the connections work. To be honest with you, I'm also ignorant in this direction about the human connections between the humans. We don't study deeply. It's a psychological, it is a social, it's a technological. All of them are involved, right, in a human-to-human connection nowadays. So there is the upcoming guest, Maria Dolores. She's joining from Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden. She is a United Nations ambassador one time, a United Nations Peace Awardee, and then she wrote a book. She's writing another book, I think, and then she's a Human Contracts Foundation. She started a foundation, Human Contracts Foundation. It is centered around the human values. What are the human responsibilities and rights and responsibilities for each human? She eloquently writes about it. So let me bring my wonderful guest, a friend of mine. She's been second time on my podcast. Her name is Maria Dolores, joining from Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, Ramana. So happy to be here again with you and to talk about the human constitution and our human rights and our human responsibilities.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're a very strong proponent of that. One of the things that I'm going to focus on a little bit, going towards our healthcare system a little bit in that sense. But one of the things I wanted to ask you. I read something about vipassana. You did a vipassana. What is that mauna in Telugu, in Sanskrit? It's called mauna breath. Is a silence of my mother used to do that. I never did that. What did teach you that lesson? Be silent for 10 days or 1 week. What does it teach you?
You
wanted to, before I say anything, you want to give me some context, some background of you? Anything I missed anything about it? Just give me some background of yours.
Yes, of course. Born and raised in Sweden. I I lived and worked here in Sweden almost all my life. I worked in the Swedish steel industry, forest industry, and at the Swedish prosecution authorities with human resources. And I also teach coaching and teach leadership management training, risk and crisis management. And parallel with this, my the professional life with human resources and leadership, I've also done over 160 days of meditation. And one episode of those 160 days over the years was Vipassana meditation. So Vipassana meditation is 10 days in silence. So you start meditation at 5 in the morning, and then you have very short breaks, and in the breakfast, and then midday, and then afternoon, and then you go to sleep at 9-ish, and then you start the meditation again 5 in the morning. So it's really, and just sitting, just meditating, just in silence. And I remember, because the beginning is to focus on your breath and to focus on your area and your nose, and the feeling sensation is refining, fine tuning the presence. And then after a few days of that, then uh, coming more into the body, and feeling the body step by step. It's a really beautiful meditation, and how to become more present with yourself, and to see the world in different aspects.
What happened after the 10 days of meditation? You did not talking with anybody. Anything special change happened in your mind? Everything is more clear, or what was the change you saw?
So when I was doing that meditation, I was in the part of my life when I was just in the beginning of my divorce. Um, so I was in a very crisis mode when I came into that meditation. It really calmed me. It changed my perspective on myself and the world. And I would also say, when you do this type of meditation, I think it's important to be um, it's important to have the right preconditions around you, um, and to yeah, because it can also, relapse. So when you come from this deep silence and the quietness in 10 days of complete silence and complete isolation, while you are with other people in the room, the when you come back to the society, it can be a harsh relapse. So I think it's also important to care for yourself after you have gone through meditations like that. I
So
would say
you also wanted to, you're running an organization called Human Contract Foundation, right?
yes.
It is the based on rights and responsibilities of humans. 7 principles you talk about it. Can you just elaborate on those things? What that foundation does, and then what those principles are.
Yes. So actually, I would like to go back. You know how we have had our 300,000-year human history, and we have always had technology supporting and driving us to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. And together with technology, we also have our mindset and how we see ourselves and how we see one another. So I think, Ramana, today we are in such a privileged time in our human history, because we have representation of people living in groups of 150 people, just like we did 300,000 years ago. And we have people living in groups of 1,000 with agricultural context. And we have people living in empires. And we have various forms of democracy. And now, once again, like so many times before, we have technology supporting and driving us to the next level. So, what is the next level, right? And we have this beautiful technology, just like you and me sitting here live and talking to our each other on different continents and with the world. So, going from this a nation-centric thinking to a global, local world, and I think it needs to be both, not just a global idea, and not the old idea if only we have laws and we implement top down, but rather how do we collaborate with the bottom up and coming together. And that's where the human contract and these 7 principles of the human constitution comes in. So the human constitution is not religious, it's not even spiritual, even though I've done very deep diving personal spiritual journey. It's not spiritual, it's not political, it's not even an ideology, but it's simply stating that we are born with rights and that we all need to mature with our responsibilities. So these 7 principles, the first 3 is personal. It's that you have the right to your body, and you have the right to all your emotions. You have the right even to the emotions of fear and anger and hate and joy and the whole range of being human, but then also to mature with our emotions, to come to more peaceful emotions, to strive for more peaceful emotions. And then with the thoughts, to that we have the right to our thoughts, but also responsibility to question our thoughts. So the first 3 is personal, what you talk about often on this channel. It's about addressing our physical mental health. And then the coming 3 is power, communication, and life. That you have the right to your power, but we also have a responsibility in how we act and interact with each other, the dynamic of the place that we take in life, and to set boundaries, to have healthy boundaries, a healthy ego. And so that's power. And then the 5th principle is about communication, freedom of speech, freedom of creativity, yes, and a responsibility in what we say and what we express, and trying to strive for more dignity and a more mature way of communicating. And then the 6th out of the 7 principles is life, that you have the right to your life, and you have a responsibility to respect others' way of life and other life forms. And then the last principle. So again, the first 3, personal, physical, mental health. The coming 3, power, communication, and life, is about our relationships. And the 7th principle is about our collective rights and responsibilities. In Swedish, we call this civilkurage, which is moral courage.
Very, very interesting. I'll talk about that in a second. I loved that the all of them actually. So I was, more know about AI, artificial intelligence. More we need to think about humans much more, much
Yeah.
more. Not only I talk about physical, mental health. That's a given, but the other 3 is also other 4 you were mentioning. They are becoming a part of this system, because you need to make them a part of the system. Otherwise it is going to break down into the because one of the things I wanted to ask you, because the systems don't care about all these 7 principles, like technology, some platforms, they just impose on people, impose on children, impose on all those mental cognitive load. They increase the cognitive load. So how do you, what responsibility you have to teach them? What is the responsible they are for these population, these platforms single-handedly impacting the 8 billion people? That's a
Yeah.
big problem, right? What is your opinion on that?
I think, um, I mean, we have always had this challenge, like I said, through our 300,000 year human history. And we have tried to solve the human behavior, the, let's say, not the human behavior in itself, but human misconduct, right? Because that's really what it comes down to when we are not acting with dignity, when we are taking power over others, or when we are making ourselves too small and saying, oh no, I cannot do that. And when we make ourselves small, um, and so we're not stepping into our actual power. We don't take our responsibility. And as humans, we have done this for 300,000 years. So it's not new. But the thing is, what is new with the human constitution is simply to take a stand for, this is a framework offered to humanity. And like I said, it's not religious, it's not party political, and it's not an ideology, but
Yeah.
um, it's rather a bridge between religions, between different party political opinions, because it's deeper. It's simply addressing, what is it to be a human, and also acknowledging, yes, we have freedom of speech, yes, we have the right to our power, and with the responsibility comes a learning and an acknowledgement to mature. We are human. Sometimes we misstep, and sometimes we say stupid things. But then it's also to honor that and say, I'm sorry, I said something stupid, or to say, to acknowledge who you are in the context, and to mature, to learn from the mistakes. And
Yeah.
that's what the human constitution is about. So it's rather, and it's both immediate, but it's also very, very, very long term thinking. This is generational, because I am not born and raised in Sweden, and we have had peace for 200 years in Sweden. And with this, I come up, and I'm brought up in different preconditions than my sisters in Somalia. And so we have different context, we have different ways of how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive one another. And we need to be very, very respectful with that, because it's also, like I said, the potential of where we are in humanity today, and where the potential of living indigenous ways, and
Mhm.
not saying that everyone should be a democracy, everyone should have this setup, everyone should have this uh, way of
It,
living, because
it
it's not.
varies.
It varies, and I really, really believe, and that's what I mean with a global local world, is to really take care of, and the precious gemstones that we have in the Indian way of being, in the American way of being, in the Swedishness or the Frenchness or the Ugandanness, and to see the treasures of what our cultural is carrying.
My son always say that, that people being a human is just showing your one, not only your achievements, but also show your vulnerabilities, weaknesses. If you demonstrate that, then people really get more pay attention to you. That's what he says, that he's a performer. He says that when I go to the stage, sometimes he's not going all the way. Even a podcast, sometimes everything is not. So that being a human really brings you back, that connection back. Maria, one of the traits you mentioned, it caught my eye, is the attention. You said that, because the reason it is more important to me at this time is that I deal with a lot of doctors. I interview doctors. So one of the thing is, they are their cognitive load is extremely high, and they sit in the exam room, and they move. People come and knock the doors. Sometimes they have to write a prescription, and they have to check all the computers. They have to check on the patient. It is just overwhelming. Sometimes that attention is gone.
Yeah.
And what he said is very interesting. He said that it is a you have to preserve that is a bodily resource. It's a body resource. You have to preserve it. I just he explained to me that is a very beautiful way of understanding why attention should be, that is a body resource. Is a body resource. It is a very conserved resource. You need to conserve it. Go ahead, please tell me what do you think about the attention part.
Yeah. So the attention is both. You're referring to meditation,
No, no,
or
no. Attention of anything. Attention of, yeah, you said that attention is a focusing on certain things, right? Attention is a focus on certain
yeah,
things. So you
yeah,
write one of the columns. He said that attention is a body, is not just a mental thing. It is a body resource.
right.
It is a yeah,
And yeah, and so in the human constitution, since it's simply about life here and now, and the human constitution, like I said, it's not religious, it's not even spiritual, but it's just addressing life here and now. So you have the right to your body, and you have a responsibility for your body. You have the right to your emotions, and you also have a responsibility for your emotion and your thoughts, and to trying to broaden perspectives. So with these three fundamentals, it's how you care for your life here and now, and with the respect for being human. It's, sometimes we do slip, and sometimes we misspeak, and we say stupid things, or
yeah,
uh, or we express in an undignified way, and then it's our responsibility to have accountability as a human, and to learn and to mature in those situations. And to mature is really to care. How do you care for your emotions? And a meditation can be a very good tool to do so, to take a few minutes of silence, and to pause, and to feel your body, honoring and loving your body, and to honor your calming your emotions, because you are more than your emotions, you are more than your thoughts. And this body, as I see it, this body obviously is a vessel. And I say obviously because I have been helping my friend in her funeral business for 6 years. And so now, since last time we spoke, now over the years, I've done 3,000 casketings.
hmm.
The youngest I've seen is 1 day old, and the oldest 107 years old. And I've
Oh my
seen
God.
people from all walks of life. And so when I talk about the rights and the responsibilities, and when I talk about dignity, when I talk about equal human worth, that's where I'm coming from. Because I've seen Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh, and also secular ceremonies So this time that we have in this life, and when we are interacting with each other, it's also with respect for one another and with respect for life.
Yeah, I want to ask you. Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you, what human relations most important part is the trust, right? One of the major thing is trust. How do you? What are the foundations of the trust? I mistrust people. They mis. It is really negatively affect me personally. I try to be not to be that way, but is that we humanity is becoming a, there is a song in my language Telugu. I was watching that, the world is full of deceit and greed and all those things. How do you interact with this world who is not honest, who is not trustworthy? How do you deal with your own trust kind of things with the people?
Yeah. And that's a really good question. I don't know if you remember, but during the pandemic, Swedish the Swedish society is built on a lot of trust.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning of the pandemic, our government had recommendations to the Swedish pop. We didn't have a hard lockdown. The Swedish government had recommendations to saying to people, you it's a pandemic and we don't know much, and we recommend that you are staying home, and people just did that. And the rest of the world was screaming like, ah,
Mhm.
Sweden, what are you doing? But it's building on trust, and it's building and
But,
trust in.
but this trust is a collective trust, right? We're
It's a,
all together collectively
but
exhibiting the trust.
it's operating on the same, it's it's the same expression, but in different levels. So when you have trust for your friend, or trust for your spouse or your children, it's also with the mutual trust isn't built in an instant, right? Trust is built over time, and it's to see behavior that is trustworthy. And then something happens, something shifts, and you're having a lack of trust, um, and then uh, I remember one incident with my daughter, and um, and because she did something, and I was like, this is a lack of trust. And then you need to have a conversation about that, and talking about, we have built this bond, and now it's a breach of trust, so what do we do about it? And to have an honest conversation. But the breach of trust can be both about what the other person was saying, but it's also something, whenever we are pointing at others, we have three fingers to ourselves. So it's accountability on both sides. And sometimes the breach of trust is because uh, the interpretation of something, maybe they did not intend to say or do how you interpret the breach of trust. So it depends on what it is. And working with human resources and leadership for 25 years, sometimes it's a breach of trust, like uh, a, a person. I remember we had to fire this person. This person was responsible for money, and the person took money. So it was both the breach of trust to the level that was fundamental for the role, and therefore the person couldn't keep the role. But they also need to mend the breach of trust to pay what was taken. So it's various ways on and different levels of breach of trust. But it's the same also, because it's to have a repetitive behavior. And like in Sweden, up until at least recently, we have a government that has built trust for a very, very long time. We have a society where trust is built. And so it's
The collective trust is altogether trust in, right?
yeah,
Um,
and so
yeah,
it's behavior of
behavior.
how.
But not only behavior. One more thing I wanted to add, if it is possible. What do you think about it? So
Yeah.
my son is a 60. When he was 16, he was taking our car, and my
Oh,
ex-wife. I used to be worried. My ex-wife, but she's a very religious woman. She was. She was praying that everything will be fine. She knows that everything will be good. So that played a very crucial role in the trust side of it. So I think faith is important in the. It's not a spiritual. I mean, I'm not talking about religious. Any faith in a system, and faith in your system, in the government itself, we have a faith. And a faith in God, the ultimate person. Some people. I think the faith, you have to have faith in people to have that everything will be fine, right? Uh, that is a very indirect way the faith plays a role in the trust side, right?
yeah. And also there is also the what I find interesting with the faith, no matter religion, right? No matter if you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh, it's also with the understanding of uh, like life is not fair. Uh, we are born into different contexts. We are born with different setups, and sometimes life happens. I say that from a very, very deep meaning, because I have seen fathers and mothers lose their children, and from the very infant to like 5-year-old or 10-year-old. And what's the meaning of that? And I don't know, because life, and maybe a higher being or entity or whatever you believe in, and we can create meaningfulness from this event, and we can have faith. But it's also the trust then that is a breach with your belief. um, um, but I think, who was it? It was one of the old philosophers, basically, that said it's not it's not really what happens to you, but how you take it. So
How you
again,
respond, yeah.
about accountability and responsibility, and to mature as a
Yeah,
human being, because all these different various forms of crisis is
yeah.
shaping us, and it is forming us. So it's how we can mature in that lesson.
Let me, yeah, you talked about your Swedish society's trust. Collective responsibility also very powerful. That is, we, in the United States, we have been trained to think only one thing: individual, you are responsible, you are the one causing the problems, you are the one, everything, either you made, I became rich, I became poor, it's all you. There is nothing about collective responsibility, or collective rights are not there. That is the biggest flaw in the United States psychologically. That's why you have more psychologists, psychiatrists, all kinds of problems here, psychological breakdowns, because that is not the collective responsibility. As a, in India, for example, is for a long time we are society responsibility. In my family, the family name, I got to protect this and that. But here is all individualistic. There is a good part about it. I'm not sure. I, I'm not taking away the some of the goodness about the individualistic thing. When you need to learn something, you have to be some freedom there. But just to blaming somebody for everything that in the you are the cause, you are the one, didn't go to school, you didn't go to, so they're punishing ignorance and the lack of resources, they're punishing people. That is blaming some individuals rather than a collective responsibility. Hey, we all made a mistake about this. That is not evolving that's one thing we're missing in the, particularly here in the United States. And it is they're spreading this kind of a bad system to other countries now. That is a bigger problem usually. That's Yeah, tell me about it. What do you think about it, the collective responsibility?
Yeah. Well, that's why I feel like I'm sitting in a very privileged position, because I'm not commenting on political, but it's really about the human, and both the individual, and that we have both rights and responsibility, and to take care both our physical mental health, to care and to mature in our relationships, no matter where we are in the world. If we are in India, if we are in California, in New York, in Paris, or in my friends in Uganda, or it we are all human, and we all need to both. I believe that when we deepen what it is to be human, and we take more responsibility, accountability for ourselves, when we can
But
mature.
here we are talking about the collective responsibility, right?
Yeah,
As you
that's the
mentioned, it's
and
not just one individual responsibility. There's a
right,
systemic problem that is there, and we all need to be responsible
yeah. So
together.
what I hear, the is one person, Chase Hughes. Shout out to Chase Hughes, one of the other YouTubers. Um, he talks about that societies and large cities are actually creating uh, narcissists and psychopaths. They are creating uh, the,
Yeah,
a mindset of me, and the bystander effect, of not intervening, and that is a problem. And that's why the seventh principle about our collective rights and
yeah,
responsibilities is important, and we need to be reminded about that, and to lessen the bystander effect, and to care more, walking down the street, seeing other people, saying hey,
yeah.
and not being in our phone all the time, and I think that's the maturity that we need to evolve
Huh?
as a humanity, and to mature with a sense of individual self and relationship self and interaction, but also the humanness. And No matter religion, no matter party, politics, that we are all fundamentally human, and I think that's that's really, the fundament that we need to build, and to care for ourselves, one another, here and now.
Mm.
And this is exactly what I talked about at the World Peace Conference, and when I was a keynote speaker in 2023. I received the Ambassador for World Peace Award. And actually, last year I received an honorary doctorate for
Congratulations. Yeah,
so, talking about how peace is not out there, peace starts from within, and it needs to be anchored. So I see it as different layers, right? Your inner layer, and to become, and to help yourself, and to get the right help that you need to become more peaceful and mature
exactly.
as individual, because healthy individuals can make a true change in society. But it all it's interconnected, right? Both with the individual and us as a collective, and us as a species and in society.
Yeah. The reason was yeah, America is demonstrating right now. It's on both sides of the extremes. You see in this country, right? For example, individually, some people are very highly successful. They made lots of money. They produce a lot of things like Elon Musk or some. These are the people produce lots of things, lots of. So it's individual power is there. On the same side, on the same other side of the coin is psychological breakdown in this country. You have a huge number of families. It's only one or two people succeed. It's like a lottery for the lottery, almost. Then everybody compares to them. Is it because there is no collective responsibility here? It is basically me culture. I am a failure. I didn't do this one. I didn't do this right. This is a very dangerous trend is creating in healthcare.
Yeah.
It's a physical problems and mental problems, both. It causes both problems, and then drug dependency and all those things. So it is a collective responsibility we need to have. As the humans, we need to have certain dignity. We have to, as you mentioned, the human contact foundation.
Yeah.
Dignity is a very important aspect of the humans together. So tell me about that, your human contact foundation. What work you do with that a little bit? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, right now, I registered and I got help to register the foundation in Texas. We are planning to move the foundation to Florida right now, but it's yes, I have a registration and a 501(c)(3), and the work, as you understand, the work is to support humans and humanity
Yeah.
uh, in the so I'm truly working in the service of humanity in the coming 100 years,
Yeah.
and that's why I created the foundation, because I wanted to work. This is a long-term work, um, and it's it's not political, and it really needs to be on um, not attached to any political or any religious aspect, but it's um, yeah, we're doing various work. Right now, I'm doing a lot of interviews, and I planning a tour to be talking more about this. And we have various projects, both in America, in Brazil, in Europe. I'm in conversations with people in Saudi Arabia and in India, um, and to plant seeds and to get a conversation started about our rights and responsibilities. This is not this is not like a quick fix, but it needs to come from within and from the people. And the purpose and the goal of the human constitution is simply a more mature humanity. What is mature? Well, it depends on where you're starting. It's about to increase dignity. So, what is dignity? Dignity for me is that when you, my friend, when you are having the crown on your head, you are the king in your life, and I am the queen in my life. And to see each other, to see other humans with their crown on, and with the dignity and the honorability
Yeah.
of owning yourself, and with self-respect, but also with mutual respect, not above, not underdog, but to be fully present
Yeah.
and dignified.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is the dignity is we need to respect each other, irrespective of that other humans. What the
Mm.
position is, that's the one thing is we need to learn humans. Maybe we have to relearn about those things through the human foundation. That's one you're starting with. I think it is a high time right now. That kind of a bringing the humans to the center of this attention, because all these, one of the things I was reading about it recently is all this technology, what it does is basically is a correlations. It does read correlations only. It
Yes.
doesn't know the cause and effect.
Right.
Humans, we know
Yes.
causal relationship, cause and
Yes.
effect. We are the ones. This is a not only is a philosophical framework, it's a mathematical framework. In fact,
Yes.
there is a flawed system that is, if you depend on technology, if you depend on even mathematics, it's a flawed system in
Mhm.
that sense. It is not it is only correlations.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly. Sorry for interrupting, but that's exactly what I see. And to look at our human history and where we are today, and it's just a it's a sequence of a development, but
yeah,
there's also a choice. So it's both natural, a cause and effect, but in that. And now we're almost getting into, is there uh, destiny or choice question? Is there everything is destiny or everything is a choice? And I believe it's both. I believe it depends on what aspect and what dimension we are looking at life. uh, but we are responsible and we need to take that responsibility. We need to take that accountability. um, and is there a destiny? Yeah, definitely. But it's both, and we need to have that accountability for ourselves and one another.
uh, destiny is that for humans is clear, right? The destiny is a death.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
human dies at the end.
yeah.
So it is. It is.
But
It
the
is. It
body,
is.
the body dies. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
The body
So
dies.
yeah. Then as long as humanity doesn't die, the one of the things is something in physics tells you very interesting. These impressions, every incident you do, every act you do, it is imprinted in the universe. Somewhere correlations are left in the universe. These correlations are there, but we don't have access to them. But
Right.
I went to
Yeah.
movie with my father, and when I was a kid, and in the town, that's a beautiful memory I have. But those correlations are left there, and that correlation is still there, and those are imprinted in the universe. That's a we may not have an access to it, but it's there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, the thing is that seven principles that you brought it, I think is going to be the foundation for AI, artificial intelligence, because it, whatever I changed my mind about AI, artificial intelligence. I used to think they are just machines. Now I changed my mind. They maybe have some self-aware. I don't know whether self-aware or not, but they're showing some into human intelligence, some kind of a reflection they have. Very is a human kind of a reflection they're doing. Um, are they humans? I don't know. Are they conscious? I don't know. But one thing I'm pretty sure, there definitely there's a new kind of intelligence that is new kind of awareness is there, is in the machines. So humans need to be protected from that intelligence, whatever it is. That, I think, your organization, your advocacy is protects that kind of uh, the takeover of that aspect of humans, because we are survivors of the any if we compare any other race, any other species, humans are the longest survivors, right? Because we work collectively, you know. So that is a lesson from a humans. So your foundation should be the center of that attention to the people, that they need to be, technology or systems, organizations to develop around that humans, rather than independently on silo structures. Yeah,
Yeah.
just let you do final comment, and then we can close our conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. I We we like to put ourselves, at the crown of the development on this planet. And to put it in perspective, the 300,000 years that I have been referring to is just, if we have the planet's time on 24 hours, humanity is only surfacing in the last few seconds, in the last second of on the planet's development. So we we need to really care for ourselves and how we treat the planet. And we have our actions and interactions have such high impact on this planet, on the wildlife. And whether we are not surviving, the worst scenario, then the planet will go on. And and create another type of life and more life. That's ever flowing. So the question is really, how do we care for ourselves? How do we care for one another and the life on the planet? And I do believe, like so many times before, we have technology supporting and driving us to the next level. So it's rather, how do we evolve? How do we mature with this technology? How do we mature with ourselves in our relationships? And how do we use the technology just like a knife? You can use it to kill, or you can use it to feed yourself and to have. Um, so it's really to care for the technology that we have evolved, and also to see the precious treasures that we have on the planet right now, both with the wildlife in the ocean, on the planet, but also the cultural treasures that we have with individual groups living in 150 people, indigenous people, and various forms of hierarchy um, and and also democracies. So, how do we move forward? And that is the question I'm asking. And the answer is not a 5-step program. It's to have a conversation. It's to start to plant seeds and to question and to create a more beautiful, a more thriving future with a global local world.
Love your framework. That you're doing a great job. Tell us whenever you visit the United States, that we are all going to be welcome, more than welcome. You are, come down and
Yes,
visit the
and I would
Silicon
love
Valley.
Yes, and I would love to have conversations with people developing this new technology and to talk more about how we deepen what it is to be human. Thank you.
Yeah, and then how the framework will work, interact with the technology. That is the actually you're showing some of the framework, human framework. How does it interact with the technology? That is the main thing, right? You
Yeah.
were the entire 7 principles of the really important. Those are all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Maria. Nice talking with you. It is a wonderful stay.
Likewise.
It
So
is a
lovely.
really pleasure talking with you. You can contact me anytime, but you're really a pleasure talking with you. And I learned a lot about the Sweden and about you and about your work. It's a global work you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye bye.
Ramana.
Good night, guys.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it